Hello, and welcome to day 4 of Reinvent Your Impact, where I share advice and actionable skills every morning to help you become a better, more confident woman in leadership. I'm Dr. Geneva, leadership expert and founder of Dr. Geneva Speaks, and I love talking about leadership, personal growth, all of those kinds of things that we, as women who are over 50 in our second or third act, really are curious about. How can we continue to make the kind of impact that we've always made? With the right mindset and skills, any woman at any age can positively influence communities, teams, and causes they care about. You don't need a fancy title to lead change. Whether you run a company or a club, coach a kids' team, organize volunteers, or lead a group at your church or in your family, you can continue to grow and share your gifts. Now, my goal is to give you the tools that turn your influence into greater impact, to make those choices, those ethical choices, to encourage others' talents, and to create needed progress on issues, big and small, from where you stand. Because there's one thing I know: when women lead confidently from their strengths, families, organizations, and communities thrive. So today's 15-minute lesson is all about reinvention and how it opens up new possibilities for us at really any stage of life. So, our quote from today comes from George Eliot, who said, "It's never too late to be what you might have been." Isn't that a provocative statement? I don't know how you feel about it, but it just gives me chills thinking about it because it just creates and kind of brings to mind all of the possibilities that there are out there for us continually, never ending. Because, reinvention really does mean us transforming one area of our life to better match perhaps the more experienced, wiser person we've become. So, reinvention, that word really means repeat. But I like to think about it also as building on to create something new and better. And so when we talk about reinvention, it might be, you know, transforming ourselves based upon our, again, wisdom and experience into something that we've always dreamed about because it's there. Whether it could be finally writing that book or launching that nonprofit after years of wanting to do that and volunteering yourself in various charities. Or it could be finding the boldness to run for public office because you've got a lot to say, because you've been for years perhaps advocating and talking about and expressing your point of view. Why not run for public office? And don't tell me it's too late, because it's not. You, in fact, can reinvent yourself and do those kinds of things. Reinvention really opens up fresh possibilities that we perhaps assumed that the window was closed on. Okay, that door was shut. Reinvention kind of gives us hope and lets us know that our most impactful chapter probably lies ahead. And it lays out kind of opportunities for us. I just get excited talking about it. It's never too late to be what you might have been. So there are 3 points that I'd like to cover in our time together, thinking about what George Eliot says to us. The first is I'd like you to think about looking at the skills and strengths you've built, particularly by surviving the tough stuff. Often we don't spend the time to sit, reflect on the experiences we've had and the trials we've gone through and how we've come through that, become even more resilient, and have accomplished things and gained skills and abilities along the way just through life, whether that's, personal or professional, usually a combination of both. So, one of the things as we realize that it's never too late and we decide that we're going to reinvent ourselves to do something we've always wanted to do, one of the first things I'd like you to consider is to look at the strengths that you've built and identify them. Ask yourself what skills and talents have been built through the tough times, and those things that you have built up and you can bring out now and use them. Okay, so any process of reinvention, I believe, involves this very critical step of assessing what you got to bring to the table. And oftentimes that stuff, we bring to the table comes from them tough times, those, you know, situations like loss of a loved one. I remember when I lost my baby, my soulmate, my husband of 40 years to cancer. I didn't know the depth of which I could take care of someone. Um, I've always been a caring person, and I've worked in a field, the nonprofit field, for years, where that's all it's about, creating caring communities, creating things to help people, et cetera. But it wasn't until I took care of my husband while he was sick, going to the doctors, getting the exams, following up the medication, et cetera, that I realized um, that I could take care of him and things and people. It just, brought out some of those abilities and skills that I really didn't know that I had. But you know how it is when things happen, we step up to the plate, we do it, and we build this resilience. So, as George Eliot is saying to us, because it's never too late, because we have this resilience. And the second thing I'm going to invite you to think about, and as we consider George Eliot's words in the context of us reinventing our impact, is that we can find lessons and clues in other women's reinvention stories. You know what I'm saying? And so, one of the things I'd like you to do is to look around and see who you know and people who've made career shifts or charted new paths or doing something different, and how they're applying their wisdom and skills to new ventures. And this leaves us clues. My own reinvention story, really involved that um, coming from the depths of despair and loss. And at the same time, I started my business. And that was really, I really had to change myself in order to go through the life changing loss that I had and run a successful, create, establish, get that business off the ground. And it was at that time that I started podcasting and I started writing a book. And through all of that pain and suffering, I reinvented myself from, this. I didn't know how I was going to go on living, frankly, but here I am today, vibrant as ever, being here with you, sharing these tips and running a successful business. And we can do it. And I started my business in my late 60s and faced the kind of loss I'm telling you about very late in life. So we can do it, as George Eliot tells us. It's never too late. And the third point that I want to make about this conversation is that it's so important in this path of reinvention that we see the failures as chances to chart a new path, because that's one of the messages underneath George Eliot's words. And by saying that it's never too late to be what we might have been, what's behind that is also saying that, hey, the failures, the trials, the tribulations that you have, they really are have prepared you for a new path in life. Um, they're not things that went wrong, aren't endpoints. There aren't the end, but really they can guide you towards your next steps, your next purpose. Okay. And so as we think about the times that we messed up, I can't tell you how many times you messed up. We all mess up, right? If you agree with me, whether you live or on the replay, please say yes in the comments. How many times have you done something that you wish you had the ability to do it over again? Because you made that mistake and you wanted to. But see, in making that mistake and recognizing, in fact, that you did it wrong or had a failure, that in itself, that recognition gives you the opportunity to say to yourself and do something about it by, oh, I blew that. Well, what would I do the next time? Because there will always be a next time. And that's what George Eliot really is saying to us when he says it's never too late to do what you might have done or might have been. So those are the points that I wanted to leave with you, and want to know what piece of this conversation s- um, stuck out most to you, inspired you. If there's something, please leave me a comment. I'd love to know. And I want you, what I want you to do today. Okay. And again, that's why I'm coming on this daily basis. So to give you these tips and advice and hopefully some inspiration on a daily basis, that means that you go forth today and do something to reinvent, to accelerate, to elevate your impact and your influence, because you have that. What I'd like you to think about doing is to write down, I'm a big write it down. Okay, just grab a piece of paper, grab a piece of paper or a journal or something, and write down one or two dreams that you have, and that they're not, and know and believe that it's not too late to have them come true. That's what we've been talking about today. So I want you to write those dreams down and think about, um, hey, Dr. Geneva talked this morning about it's never too late. So write them dreams down. I'll see you next time. And remember, be the leader only you can be. See ya. Love you.